off-track betting.
Good morning and welcome to Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning, live from the Saratoga backstretch. Clear court right behind us, sun shining, a beautiful day. Seth Merrill and Steve Bick. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Seth.
You're chipper this morning.
Look at me. How can I not be chipper?
Right? Look at you. Always look at you. Although I put on
my glasses broke this week. I had to go back to the. Take a step backwards to the
the spare pair that
the old standby.
Well, it gives you a chance to upgrade now.
Well, I did upgrade. They're brand new glasses. I've had nothing but trouble with them. It's unbelievable. Second time they little screw, the screws like a microscopic screw in there. I don't even know how they make the thing.
They've got that little thing by the counter. Why they have it? But every supermarket by the cash register, there's that little glass repair kit with the little tiny screws.
I'm not like a watchmaker with the giant magnifying glass to fix my own glasses. I know what you would do if you wore glasses.
It would be gaffer's tape.
Oh, you better believe it.
I knew where you were going with that.
It was an easy one.
Very good. And we should also mention, because we talked on your radio show, I did score.
I heard. In fact, on a site, we're going to talk the sale this morning. We've got a terrific lineup, and that includes Jack Brothers, longtime bloodstock agent and advisor, and finds horses for clients. And Jack is going to be here to talk about the sale, which of course starts tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday night. One of Seth's absolute highlights of his social calendar is out there shilling for drinks, basically.
I remember getting drinks in the Spite and Dival.
Look at you.
Yeah. I go back to, and I'm sure 80% of the audience, no, maybe 50% of the audience is going, what? I don't know what he's talking about.
We're going to show you later archival footage of Seth at the rafters dancing, right?
That's pretty. It was about that era. It was about that era. But this fighting dive, I mean, it wasn't like lush in the backyard years ago. There was like a little house there, and during the sales, you could go into their living room. Somebody in the corner playing the piano,
Absolutely.
and they'd serve drinks. It was quite the scene. It's different, much more formal now, but it's very nice.
There's quite a few people in town who have come downstairs at some point and found Seth in their living room that he's just wandered in at 2 o'clock in the morning and not really knowing what house he's thinking he's at the Spite and Dive.
I should make it. I do enjoy the social aspect of Saratoga, but I'm not a big drinker. I will put that out there. I'm not. I'm not lush. I enjoyed the
two mentions of the word lush today. Actually, lush is a strong.
All right. So if we had one of those game show things where you're drinking during lush, there would now be 3. You'd be out. But we do want to mention yesterday you took some nice pictures, because it's worth kind of noting, because he was a popular guy locally, and I know related to a lot of owners. Glenn DeSantis. There was a memorial race yesterday. Nice crowd showed up in the winner's circle to kind of memorialize Glenn DeSantis. And was it just the day before that a horse he had trained won?
Yes.
And so that was nice too.
Yes, and his family and when you talk friends, they couldn't let everybody in the winner's circle. They limited it to 20, and there were another 30 outside the winner's circle wearing the Glenn DeSanto pin, and just heartbreaking, because This is somebody who literally, when you hear the term "shirt off their back," that's the kind of person Glenn DeSanto was, and missed every day by everybody. And this was really a sweet,
that was nice,
bittersweet
yesterday.
moment.
Yeah, nice yesterday. On just a gorgeous day. Started out a little dicey as we were back here doing TV, but by lunchtime the sun came out. Temperatures were perfect, and just under 40,000 yesterday. It was a big crowd.
You could tell they thronged, and in fact, they apparently were lined up down Union as far as the eye could see to get in. Almost a Travers-like pre-gate opening, and not just a big crowd, but a very young crowd. Several people specifically, and you would think Whitney would specifically bring out a lot of purists and a lot of longtime horse players and fans. But this had a real vitality, and of course, Tina's a mutual, and she said this was kind of a group that is feeling their way in terms of horseplay and learning the game. But that's tremendous, and that's why all of the misguided claims about the sport's popularity are just that, misguided, because there is a constant introduction at places like Saratoga, Keeneland, Del Mar, Oak Lawn, you name it, regionally, and this is why having regional racing is important. Suffolk, day 2 of their second weekend of 3, fabulous card. They had another big crowd yesterday and good handle. Game gets introduced and people learn. People wade their way into the sport, and that's what is so exciting and vital about Saratoga in particular.
Let's jump into some of the action yesterday. Obviously, the highlight was the Whitney. The race clearly went through Gun Runner. He'll be the 3-5 favorite, number 6 in here, and just gets it done. 147.71, a 112 buyer figure. Breaking Lucky, the West Point horse, runs very well and gets caught late by Keen Ice. So Keen Ice second, Breaking Lucky third, but Gun Runner, I'm going to be interested to see what the NTRA poll voters do tomorrow, given what Arrogate did a couple weeks ago.
Well, I think that as it happens, Arrogate continues to be your leader in the clubhouse, and he's going to be back for the Pacific Classic. That a decision made this week after Baffert, very satisfied with the head-up performance in the morning of Arrogate. So Baffert committing to staying in San Diego for the Pacific Classic. Gun Runner, however, a 112 buyer in as professional and polished a performance as you're going to see. And Steve Asmussen, Ron Winchell, Scott Blasi, DJ Fisk, everybody associated with this horse, all smiles, because as he's matured, he just is rateable. He's waiting for cues from Florent Giroux, and this is really a fun thing to watch. And for those that feel like, oh, all these horses, they leave early. Well, here's a horse that's sticking around, and you can see with the added experience and maturity what a powerhouse he is. And it's really going to get interesting as we move toward the return to Del Mar in the fall.
It would have been a blockbuster if Arrogate had decided to come and try the Woodward off the dud at Del Mar. If they said, well, we've done well at Saratoga, let's try it, and had a showdown here, but we'll get the showdown later in the year.
Well, 1.25 miles in the Pacific Classic on the racetrack where they're going to run 10 furlongs in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Yeah. And frankly, it has to be a referendum for Baffert and for Juddmonte in terms of him at Del Mar. And I think I understood the suggestion of coming for the Woodward, but it just, you knew that if the horse was sound and everything was okay, that they almost were obligated to stay at Del Mar and get this dress rehearsal for the Classic out of the way. The one thing that the postscript to this Whitney is, Steve Asmussen said they're going to come back most likely in the Woodward, and I got to tell you, I spoke to Dean Reeves about Breaking Lucky. They're going to look elsewhere. They do not want any more to do with with Gunrunner or probably Arrogate, so they're going to try to find a more favorable spot. And one guy I'm going to give some credit to, Ron Paolucci. Paolucci brings War Story to every gun battle, and literally, and runs another solid race, is fourth in here, and of course he had Game Over run second to Colonel's Dark Temper down at Mountaineer in the West Virginia Derby. Very happy for Jinx Fires to win that West Virginia Derby with his son-in-law, John Court, for A.J. Foyt.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, very cool.
Looking at Lee third, Patch fourth. Patch went up. The betting public loves Patch. Patch went up the favorite.
Did you hear about the crowd they had in there for Patch? They had a mammoth turnout at Mountaineer. They came literally from out of the mountains to see Patch, and they were handing out these little heart-shaped eye patches. Patch is one of those horses that capture the imagination of the public.
All right, let's go back to the test yesterday. Another Grade 1 event on the card. Really annually one of the big races up here. I thought it went through any one of the Southern California shippers and vaders. I tilted towards American Gal, so I was happy with the result here. Fabian, the Badford runner, will run second. Shalon, the other Southern California shipper, runs fourth behind Tequilita, but number 10, American Gal, boy, she looked good, wins by a chart margin of 4.
This was a spectacular performance. There is no way else to define it, and it really is a fairly funny set of circumstances that has Simon Callahan with this horse, which started with Baffert, of course, Kaleem Shah moving his horses away from Baffert, and Abel Tasman, who started as a 2-year-old with Simon, going to Baffert. Kind of a crazy set of circumstances, but very happy for Simon Callahan, who does a good job, and does a good job with different kinds of horses. I think the assumption was that he was a guy that was going to be good with turf runners long. Instead, he pretty much can get any kind of a horse prepared, and there were a number of notable performances here, including Tequilita, who you mentioned. Tequilita was really the only horse that closed and made up significant ground, and she clearly a filly that I think could probably point for the filly and mare sprint. That seems to be what Kaleem Shah is going to do with American Gal for now. They do think that ultimately she can go back to routing, but they're going to wait, and not a bad plan. 3-year-old sprint, come back next year as a 4-year-old filly and stretch her back out and try to go for distaffing. But very nice, and I put the figure up, and now I'm going to forget what it was, a 93, I believe.
And let's move on to Friday, the Hall of Fame stakes. Hall of Fame itself, a nice induction ceremony. With Garrett Gomez, Victor Espinosa, Javier Castellano getting in, Goldakova, Tommy Voss got in. Some nice speeches. So it was a nice day in the morning, and then in the afternoon, Bricks and Mortar gets it done over Yoshida. I had both of those in my mix. I used number 10, Arklow, on top. I thought he was eligible to rebound. Arklow was right there and eligible to make the move at the top of the stretch, but just didn't have anything. Finishes 7th in the field of 9, but it is Chad Brown and Bricks and Mortar getting it done here in the Hall of Fame.
Third straight Hall of Fame win for a Chad Brown trainee. What was strange about this race, we'll talk later with Paul Matisse and Duke Matisse about the betting patterns around here and about the wagering aspect of the meet so far, and it was stunning that he went off at 4-1.
Yeah.
Just incredible. And I suppose to some degree, Seth, it's the power of the quote-unquote trip horse. Big Handsome had the trip that everybody was talking about. And so Big Handsome seemed to take more money than was appropriate. Then curiously yesterday, Estrachada, in her win, she was a trip horse, and she didn't take as much money probably. Andy Serling sniffed her out in a big way, and so it's kind of funny. But Bricks and Mortar, undefeated horse, you got $10. What a country! Unbelievable.
All right, anything else to add?
We mentioned Tom Voss getting in to the Hall of Fame, and every year up here and virtually anywhere on the equestrian circuit, Tom Voss is missed. How about Swoop's win in the Mrs. Phipps on Thursday, trained by daughter Elizabeth for Mimi Voss, and I thought that was wonderful. And similarly, we lost Leonard Lavin at the age of 97, the patriarch of Glen Hill Farm. And Leonard Lavin, Alberto Culver, VO5, a guy that devoted 50 years to the sport and was honored a couple of years ago with the Eclipse Award of Merit. His grandson, Craig Bernick, continues on with the Glen Hill Farm. Tom Proctor, in only the way Proctor could have it on Thursday, as word spread of the passing of Leonard Lavin, sends out West Coast bias to a victory at Del Mar, which was really nice. Proctor followed up a win, in fact, yesterday, Cambodia, in the Yellow Ribbon. And just wanted to acknowledge Leonard Lavin, who just was a long-term stalwart of the sport.
We've got to get Tommy Proctor to Saratoga. Get him back here with the banana story. With the banana, it was like a steak.
That's the best. The bananas and milk tasted like steak and champagne.
All right, let's do a break. When we come back, he's out there. He's ready to roll. George Weaver picked up the win in the De La Rose yesterday with Thundering Sky. We'll hit on that and much more. Stay with us.
Going on now at Capital OTB. It's Bet 100, get 100. Simply open a new Capital Bets account. Bet $100 and get $100 cash back. That's free money just in time for Saratoga. Bet 100, get 100. Now at Capital OTB.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
EquestriaCon.
The first ever international racing convention.
First ever. For the fans. With the fans. The breeders, the owners.
The horse players.
The jockeys like me.
Come celebrate racing at EquestriaCon.
Now it's a global series. The best racers from all over the world, the best trainers, the best jockeys.
You can get a free entry into the Breeders' Cup, and everybody wants to run in a Breeders' Cup race.
You get your travel expenses paid for the Breeders' Cup. Automatic berth takes a lot of pressure off.
If we're considering two different races and one was a win and you're in and one was not, that would be the tiebreaker.
It's probably the best thing that's happened to racing in the last 10 years.
Breeders' Cup Challenge, win, and you're in.
With more than 60 Easy Bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all Easy Bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB. We're closer than you think.
Welcome back to Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrill and Steve Bick here live from the Saratoga backstretch. Happy to be joined now by a guy who had a nice win to cap the stakes action yesterday at Saratoga, George Weaver.
Mike, how are you?
Very good. Happy to have you on board to talk a little of the stakes action yesterday, De La Rose. And why don't we just kick off and take a look at the stretch run there. We'll watch number one, Thundering Sky, get it done. Just gets it done by a neck at 13-1. What were your thoughts as they came down the stretch here?
Well, Rajiv was giving her a great trip. You know, we wanted to kind of stalk the pace, be in the pocket, and you're always looking for room, and it can get tight down there, but we really didn't want her on the lead or pressing. She just runs a better race, trying to kind of get covered up and turn off a little bit. So, you know, right, she's a little here going in the first turn. She picks her head up a little bit and gets a little rank, but then she dropped her head for him when they turned up the backside. And you know, I couldn't tell really going around the turn. I'm watching it live, and I was like, is he out of horse? Because he really didn't push the button. But we had talked about, you know, she's got a short move, wait as long as you can, and that's what he was doing. You know, he just was waiting as long as he could to ask her for her best, and it was a winning decision on his part.
What did he say when he got back?
Nah, he was just thrilled. He said, man, that worked out perfect. You know, he had talked about me 2 days ago when he saw the overnight, and, you know, I give credit to Rajiv. He did a lot of study on it. He already knew everything about her before we even talked, so it's just nice when a plan comes together. You know, everything he thought about the race developed the way it did, and he was able to win.
Yeah, as we see here, making kind of a little move as they come around the far
Like he's
turn.
still on pause here. You know, he could have moved here if he wanted to, and he was still waiting. And you're kind of like, what's he doing? Taking her back? But he's just, you know, being patient, waiting
Saving
to
ground.
Yeah, saving ground and making sure he didn't make a premature move.
You got any plans? You know what's up next? You thought about that at all?
Well, some of her best races have been at Belmont. We really want to go to the Noble Dams on September 23rd. That's and whether or not we run her in between. I guess if there was something right smack 4 weeks from yesterday, you know, that positioning might be good. But if we don't find a spot, we'll just go into it off of training.
And it was kind of interesting. She kind of gets past it about the 16th pole and then re-breaks and gets a length ahead again.
Yeah, you know, and we were really high on her last year. I mean, I told the owner, you know, we were thinking, should we sell her or should we race her? I said, man, the way she ran into Pebbles, I think she's, you know, if she comes back good as a 4-year-old, you know, she could do real well this year. And I mean, we've run her 3 times before yesterday, and it's just been one disaster after another. Just nothing went right, and you know, she had legitimate excuses, but we were starting to question whether or not, you know, we had that much in front of us this year. So I was glad to see the filly get back on track.
Yeah, nice performance.
This is always a fun race, too, the De La Rose and now the Lure. You got these non-winners of a sweepstakes over a calendar year or since the beginning of the year, and it always brings together a fun bunch. And typically, a win in here can kind of relaunch and get a horse picked up. And it's funny because as soon as she headed that horse on the just to her outside, she really excelled. I mean, it feels like one of these horses that, when produced and when she sees the open space,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, she went for it. She's push button. She's got a nice move, but it's got to be timed. And Rajiv just did a beautiful job with it.
Well, and you mentioned, you know, quote unquote, the owner. George has got some of the most animated owners because George feels kind of subdued and always seems very, very relaxed. But he's got Randy Hill to deal with, and then Matt Shearer, who was like a pinball in the winner's circle. He was looking to hug anybody that came close.
Yeah, he was excited, but that's why we're in this game. You know, I mean, if the way you feel after a win, I mean, that's the way it is. You want to hug everybody in the grandstand.
Well, speaking of wins for you got to put up this graphic because George is devilish up at Saratoga because he might go, a week or 10 days without a win. This was win 666.
Ooh. Was it really?
666.
There you go.
He's a devil of a horseman, and that proves it.
Yeah, there's my wife Cindy, the one that she does most of the work around there. I'm just the mouthpiece.
You look at those numbers, George, and I had to pull up, and Formulator on DRF only goes back 5 years. And for those that know that you've got to be monitored closely, 295 starts in the last 5 years at Saratoga, 51 wins.
That's a lot of wins. It's a hard place to win. I'm proud of that.
Well, not only that, 133 placements. So 17% win at Saratoga, 45% in the money, with a $2.54 ROI.
We're still on the positive on the ROI?
Positive. You could lose the next 70 and be positive.
Yesterday helped.
That's here's the interesting thing. You figure, well, he probably has had a whole bunch of crazy price winners among those 51. Only 4 of them have been over 20 to 1. So it's those middle-priced horses in the 6, 8 to 12, 14 to 1 range, like this horse. A lot of $20, $30 horses that is getting this done. 2 of them first-time starters. For Honors, 23 to 1, and Play Unified, 21 to 1. You won the Prioress with Lighthouse Bay.
Right.
She was 21 to 1, and just the other day, Sandy.
Yeah, Somerset Sandy, yeah.
She was 21 to 1. This guy, you got to watch this guy. And you're going to have plenty of opportunities this week.
Yep, we've got a lot coming up.
You got today, Daddy is a Legend in the second race. Maiden Specials going a mile and a 16th on the grass. First time starter by Scat Daddy. What are you thinking of Daddy is a Legend?
Yeah, she's trained well. We like her. She acts like she's got some ability. She's not the most predictable animal in the world, and maybe not the greatest gate horse, but still her works have been good, and we're hoping that she goes over there and puts it together.
What was the game plan trying 2 turns for the first start?
Well, here if she's much better on the grass, and your options are 5.5 or long, and 5.5. She's just not a natural 5.5 horse, and running on the turf, I personally don't believe it requires as much fitness, especially over a firm turf, as it does on the dirt, and I don't think it's that big a deal.
You've also, as the week unfolds tomorrow, Aknaha, the Irish bred, in a 5-horse mile-and-a-half allowance, and doesn't look, George, like there's a whole lot of pace to set up her run.
No, and last time she was sitting a long ways back off of a slow pace, and she's kind of a victim of her own style. We've tried to place her into the race on a couple of occasions, and it takes away from her finish. But her problem is you got to be careful because she'll let herself drop out of it. So I'm fine if there's a slow pace. I just don't want to be more than 4 or 5 lengths off of it. And, that's the last time we ran, and the last race she was in was a little tougher than this one, but they went 1:16 for 3/4, and we're a dozen lengths off of it. It's just too much to do. Everybody else is flying at the end of the race. It's just mathematically impossible to catch them and sustain your run.
2 more come on Wednesday, George. Malibu Stacy, and much like Thundering Sky, in this case, a filly that really projected and looked like she was going to be a big player. She's back as a 4-year-old and seems to be sort of easing up, third off the layoff, kind of trying to get her back to her good races.
Filly's trained well the whole spring and summer, and she ran well here last year. I agree. She's just like Thundering Sky. It just hasn't happened for her down at Belmont. I really think the 2 days she ran there that the track was very dull. They went 7/8 and 23 in a couple, and then 6.5 furlongs at 118 change. At 2 other than fillies and mares, if the track is glib, they're going to go a lot faster than that, and I think she likes it a little bit tighter. Might have a wet track tomorrow. As long as she can get a hold of it, I think she's going to run a real good race.
You've also, and this is a cleverly, or at least interestingly named for Mets fans, Sid Finch goes in the 5th on Wednesday, and Sid Finch, a 2-year-old making a 3rd start, and I ran a 120 buyer, I think.
Yeah, exactly. The Sid Finch with 125 figure. Yeah, it'd be racing lore,
right?
Sid Finch.
For those that are just mystified by this, Sid Finch was an April Fool's Day gag by Sports Illustrated.
Right. George Plimpton, right?
Did Plimpton write the piece?
I think Plimpton wrote the story.
A prospect that was coming up in the Mets system that threw a 120-mile-an-hour fastball, and hence the 120.
And pitched barefoot, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that also part of that goes back to what, 70?
It was a while ago,
early 70s?
It's a good name. Neil Galvin, I think he come up with a name, and I Googled it. He told me about it, and I Googled it. It's pretty cool when you read about it.
Yeah, it was a funny, every so often, especially around April Fool's Day. George, we ask you this question every year before we let you go. In terms of priming the stable and pointing for races up here and, anticipating the condition book to then consistently have the success that you've had. Give some insight to that.
I wish I could really answer that question. I mean, we try to be, I guess, more aggressive where we place them, and just try to be smart about that. But everybody remarks about that. You go to Belmont, you're quiet at least for the first 3/4 of the meet, and then you start waking up, and it just must be the flow of the year, the way things go, and you get your babies ready. So it just always seems like we have more action here, and get more winners. But I'm glad. I love winning here.
I looked at Daddy as a Legend, and I see that horse started training up here back in May. Do you come early and leave late? You have horses stick around after the meet up here?
Yes. Yeah, we have a place up here. Most of our horses train up here, May through when they shut down early November. And we have a string at Belmont as well, and so it's been working out well every year.
I think a lot of people, casual fans or fans who are new to the game, don't realize that the place goes from springtime to the fall. There's the racing season, but then there's a big training season up here as well.
Yeah, and it's a great place. It's a beautiful place to live, even when the meet's not going. And training up here we love it.
Look at all this B-roll of George. It's like a documentary.
I see that.
What's next, by the way, for Mo Maverick? Because Randy Hill probably watching, and I can't. Yesterday he was bitterly disappointed finishing.
His
third.
horse ran terrific.
I know, and all he could do was kick the cat. He was
not happy. I guess there's a chance he could have been second if different dynamics were in play, but the horse ran his eyeballs out.
What about Mo Maverick, who won down at Monmouth at the end of July?
I think we're gonna take him into the Better Talk Now. I think is the name of the race later in the meet.
Nice.
We picked the Lamplighter. It looked like the Hall of Fame was just a little bit more that we wanted to bite off and chew at that point. But the horse is real talented. Like you would never surprise me if he jumped up and can tackle the big boys. But the Better Talk Now seems like a good fit for him.
Matt Gatsis and Randy Hill partnered up on that, and Gatsis, I think, so that he could sit in that box with you guys. I think that's why he partnered.
We're all tight right there. We got our group. They've been great partners.
That box is like the sun in a solar system.
It's the sun in my solar system. I can tell you that.
George Weaver, who is always he's been, I think, a guest every single summer on Loose on the Lead. And we always enjoy having him. We're going to take a break right here. Wish George luck today and the rest of the meet. Jack Brothers is going to join us, of course, prominent bloodstock agent. Talk about the sale, what we can expect tomorrow and Tuesday. Then, of course, the New York Breds take over on Saturday and Sunday. Then more brothers, the Matisse brothers. So stay with us. Loose on the Lead continues here on Capital OTV.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
As an owner, I love the Breeders' Cup Win in Your In series.
To win one of these challenge series is a way that we kind of map out our schedule throughout the year with our horses.
If you win one of the challenge races, you have a very good horse.
The King George, which is our Win in Your In race, provides the top middle distance horsing in Europe. We saw Highland Reel run in both races.
We know when we show up at the Breeders' Cup, we've got the world to beat, not just everybody in the United States. Breeders' Cup Challenge, win, and you're in.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Going on now at Capital OTB. It's Bet 100, get 100. Simply open a new Capital Bets account. Bet $100 and get $100 cash back. That's free money just in time for Saratoga. Bet 100, get 100. Now at Capital OTB.
We're back on Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning, and in addition to the action in the afternoons on the Oval, the action across the street on the sales grounds, Fasig-Tipton Select Sale tomorrow and Tuesday night, followed up on Saturday and Sunday by the New York Breds. A real pleasure to have Jack Brothers join us, longtime bloodstock agent and currently heavily associated with Hidden Brook.
That's right.
And you've done a little everything, though. You've worked for Frank Stronach for years.
Mm-hmm. Now we have. We also added. We bought Scallon's Old Training Center in Florida, so we're Kentucky and Florida now.
What'd you do with Dave?
Dave actually bought a place nearby, and we renovated and built a new barn. So we're up and running in Florida now too.
The sale tomorrow and Tuesday, the second big yearling sale of the season after the July sale, which had typical fireworks. This sale is very much a boutique sale, as they say,
right.
And looking, Jack, for some trends and some overall themes from what you're feeling and seeing.
Well, I think after the success of the July sale, I mean, if you just look at the sale itself, there were across-the-board gains. When you go up in median, you go up in average, you go up in gross, and the number in RNAs go down. I think you have to be optimistic going into a sale like this. There's great quality here. There's a great diversity of stallions to choose from, female families, and you have consignors that have been coming here for years and offering great stock that go on to do big things.
It's one of the biggest topics, of course, at the yearling season, and some of the things that we look for, even before Keeneland in September, the big box store of yearling sales, the first crops.
Right.
And we're getting early indications of win early types. There is quite a bit more turf routing going on, dirt routing going on, 2-year-old programs kind of into the swing of things at Del Mar, Saratoga. Can't forget Ellis Park, and actually Gulfstream too, where any number of Florida-bred 2-year-olds, they ran the sire stakes, the first of them yesterday.
Right.
Talk a little bit about who you're impressed with and who you think are bellwether first crop sires.
Well, I think what happens is, and it's no surprise, but I think the horses that touted themselves at the yearling sales last year have emerged to really go on and do what you have expected based on how they presented themselves, with the yearling sires. So, if you see overanalyze at the top, and Violence, we were very impressed with him. Orb was sensational across the board, with several good horses. Animal Kingdom, they're starting to come around. And from a personal note, having been in Medina for a long time, I worked with Cormac Brannock, who did a great job putting together the book of mares, and he's since left for Airdrie. But Point of Entry, I think we're going to start to see those horses start to emerge in a big way.
It had a lot of fun, actually, the last couple of years in anticipation of not just Point of Entry, but Orb and Data Link all entering stud at the same time. A unique honor for Shug McGahee, and Shug waiting eagerly for sons and daughters of all of them.
I'll bet. We know he's just one of those. I think he's a very important sire in Point of Entry. He's the Dynaformer line, and I think we need that representation. He fits a lot of other sire lines really well, and he's effective. And he had speed. He can carry the distance. He was really a great horse. He won 5 Grade 1s, and it wouldn't shock me. And then yesterday we saw Jimmy Creed come up with the Sorrento winner and for Spendthrift, and I think he's got a license to be any kind of horse.
Well, and Violence for John Secura, who everybody is buzzing about, and in particular the way the runners are hitting the racetrack. I mean, that it seems like he's put a real charge. He had a limited career himself.
Well, he's a great 2-year-old. He's a great representation of Medaglioro, who's one of the best-looking stallions you ever lay eyes on. And I think Violence really is a good representation of his own sire, and he was precocious, so I think he's got a license.
I was handicapping earlier on the handicapping show, and Orb has one going long this afternoon, and I've been saying for the past few weeks, he got off to a great start. I kind of think his progeny may be better as they start going longer.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think as they start to get around those 2 turns, and I think there'll be turf and dirt, but obviously he won his big race on dirt. Yeah. But it wouldn't shock me to see him be effective on both surfaces.
And for folks who are going to head over on Monday and Tuesday night, fill us in. And if you drive by this sales ground in the daytime, it's right up the street from the racetrack. If folks don't know, right on East Avenue, and folks can show up, and it's a great couple of nights. It's a lot of fun. When they bring the horses out of the stall and the folks are looking at the conformation and whatnot, for people who aren't familiar, what kinds of things are potential buyers looking for when those horses are being walked in front of them?
Well, really, we do our legwork, days in advance. We started on Friday for outfits that we're showing, so we're really just really looking for, no surprise, but we're really looking for a very well-balanced athlete. And when I say that, they want to have a good walk, and obviously the conformation is very important, how they present themselves. And some horses just have great presence, but we look for, again, great balance, athleticism, and they have a good mind. And, you have to be forgiving. There are no perfect horses, but there's a great collection of horses at this particular sale, and historically some amazing horses have come out of the sale. So you just have to find out the right ones that hit your budget.
And we've had people similar to you in the past, and you alluded to it, talking about the presence. It's not just the physicality. You want the mental aspect too. I mean, we've had people talk, hey, while they're in the stall, you like to see them looking out, maybe alert and kind of.
That's right. Well, you can't undervalue, a good eye and and have their ears going the right direction and not getting upset over little things, and that they're handling themselves in the process. Because look, a lot of these horses are leaving the farm for the first time, taking their first van rides, and it's tough to get away from home. They're herd animals, and they go from a very serene setting to a very electric atmosphere.
One of the things, in fact, as you, particularly times of the day, and when a horse is being shown, Jack, quite a bit, being pulled out of the stall. I know that some bloodstock agents, they'll watch and see if some of them are getting annoyed and getting disgusted with being dragged out of the stall. The ones that handle this process, it's an indication that they're going to handle the training process as well.
No doubt. And listen, you have to prepare a yearling for a sale because they do put a lot of miles in during the day, and it gets to be cumbersome in and out of the stall all day. And like I said, some handle it better than others, but as the day goes on, if it's 4 o'clock and they might have shown 80 or 90 or 100 times, you have to be a little forgiving if they're dragging their feet a little. So what we normally do is we just double back in the morning, and sometimes you see a different horse, and usually they get energized, and you have to be a little bit forgiving on that side.
You mentioned, and with Orb's conversation about end point of entry, one of the biggest trends in the sport has been the burgeoning turf racing.
No doubt.
Fasig-Tipton, who tries to be as innovative as possible, the constant new elements that they bring to the bloodstock market, including things like that, adding a horses of racing age sale to the July yearling sale. That was a big hit, redistributing stock mid-season. Sure. Now the introduction of a turf showcase, which is going to come September, the second Sunday of September, and there's real excitement and intrigue about this, and the assumption that the international community will descend as well on Lexington in an attempt to get turf horses. What's your impression of, and the catalog only came out, I got mine the other day in the mail.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a terrific idea from the beginning, and I think you summed it up when you just said innovative, and I think that's the approach Fasig-Tipton takes. And I think with this industry, if you take anything that's a novel idea, and people embrace it, and I think look, turf racing is a lot of fun. They card a lot of turf races now more than they used to. They're great betting events, and my own experience with turf is with owners. We'd show a pedigree and they say, it's too grassy, but I'd never heard anybody complain once you buy them a good grass horse. So, I mean, I myself personally, we've had a lot of success with the grass, and we really do enjoy it, and I think more people embracing the idea that campaigning a good grass horse is a lot of fun, and then they tend to last a little bit longer, and there's a lot of options now.
Well, options to discuss so much with Jack Brothers. And Jack, we're not going to let you get out of here without talking about the upcoming Alabama and the very exciting Unchained Melody, Brian Lynch, and very quietly and with sort of a burst on the scene. She is probably the least talked about candidate for the 3-year-old filly Eclipse.
Right. Well, I hope we're on the right track. She was very impressive in winning the Mother Goose, and right now we're just fingers crossed. She breathed very well the other day. She got one more breeze for Brian, and then Hidden Brooks on to the Alabama. So we're very excited about the prospect of her running well there. She's doing very well.
The 1.25 miles for the filly, I mean, we talk, leading up to things like Derby, all we talk about is, going 1.25 miles for the first time. Right. And for whatever reason, the Alabama, there isn't as much of that discussion. And of course, the potential matchup here includes Unchained Melody against a Queen's Plate winner, Jimmy Jerkins and Frank, sending out Holy Helena, sibling of Holy Boss, the sprinter.
That's right.
And yet she goes and wins the 1.25 miles on the synthetic at Woodbine. And a unique matchup coming up.
No, we're really looking forward to the showdown. And, our filly's by Smart Strike. We feel that the 1.25 miles will present, a bit of a challenge, but she's got that getaway speed, and she seems to glide pretty easily through the stretch. And we're looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Well, we always look forward to getting insights from Jack Brothers when we can here on radio. And Jack, one question, sale topper, respectively.
I'm still shortlisting, so I'll have to come back tomorrow to give you the winner.
You may be keeping that in the jacket pocket and not wanting to put too many people on the hip.
That's right.
Now, Jack, I appreciate it. Jack Brothers, everybody. We'll take a time out, take our last of the morning. We'll come back. The Matisse brothers, are they out there, Seth?
Yes, they are.
Well, then let's get to them. The Matisses. We've had a lot of brothers.
That's right.
Jack Brothers and the Matisse brothers. Stay with us.
Thanks.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Not at the track and not near a computer? No problem. Wager with Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system and you'll never get shut out again. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system is quick, simple to use, and guarantees your wagers are accurate and placed on time. For more information, visit CapitalOTB.com or call Capital OTB's customer service hotline at 800-292-BETS. Capital OTB's touch-tone wagering system. Never get shut out again. In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
Is unbelievable! Zenyatta! What a performance! One we'll never forget. Looked impossible, but it is Zenyatta, still unbeaten under Mike Smith.
We're back on Loose on the Lead on this Sunday morning, and we've got the wide angle lens because we expand to 4 when you get the opportunity to meet the Matisses, and Paul Jr. to my left and Duke to Seth's right. Good morning.
How's it going, Steve? You started off with the wide angle. Everybody's been telling me I'm gaining weight, and you start right off with me at my.
Well, just all you have to do is sit next to the battler, and nobody will wonder if you're gaining any weight because you'll look slim and trim.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
Duke, your trip into town winding down, heading back home.
Yeah, this is the end. I think I'm leaving Tuesday, but it's been fun. I've been here since July 10th, so
wow,
I've been here a while. So I've got
not sticking to playing the Saratoga.
The tournament?
Yeah.
No, I'm not really a big fan of the way that tournament goes because everybody just bets so much at the end, and there's so many people.
Well, that's what got me last year. Yeah.
You could be leading by thousands and get beat. You know what I mean? So not really. They need to come up with a new.
These money tournaments, we need a new strategy somehow. I'm playing, but we still need a new strategy.
Well, and since we broke running on this topic on the contest scene, and of course Paul 2 years ago wins the NHC, the National Handicapping Championship, and since last year, since Ray Arsenault's win, Daily Racing Form splits off from their longtime sponsorship of the National Handicapping Championship. It's now known as the National Horse Players Championship, and DRF has started their own $1 million contest. How has it affected your thinking in terms of qualification? I know you both have got NHC chairs already, but what's been your reaction to what transpired?
Go ahead.
Well, I think it's good. The more tournaments, the better. I'm not upset about that. And Pete does a great job with the DRF. Pete Fornatel, he's on with you a lot, and so I like what the DRF is doing. I think it's it'll take tournaments further. And he's unbelievable, Pete, with all the coverage that he does for it, and you too on the radio. But I hope it doesn't take away from the NHC, because that's, even before I won it, that's one of the reasons why Duke and I tried to win it, because that's always, I think that's the pinnacle. That's the one you want to win.
Yeah, I think the NHC is the tournament. I mean, I don't think anybody's ever going to take that away. It's like it's just the feeling when you're there, when everybody comes. It's just it's an amazing time, and I've been in it 15 straight years. So I mean, yeah, I'm not. I'm
we fell
not
through by accident, and once we were there, we said, I actually went and saw Duke the first time when he qualified for it. We're going to try to win this thing. This is something we wanted to do right away.
Well, and for those that weren't following at the time, when Paul won the NHC, he and Duke were both in the top 10, stalking, and either one could have won. And it is funny, because in the circles of the tournament scene, if there were players, and I've said this before, over the years, where it feels random and somebody gets hot, but one of the few names that people constantly would acknowledge would ultimately be an NHC winner, it was the Matisses. It was it was Duke or Paul or Dad or Chick. You guys had been, you really speak to that, actually, having the reputation that you've got internationally as the top horse players, among the top horse players in the world.
If you saw the way we've been at Saratoga this year, you wouldn't say that. But yeah, I don't know about all that. That's nice, and then you guys have been great, stuff like that. But I know that's really not what we were. We just wanted to win it, and we had an opportunity. I got ahead of Duke, so that was that was a lucky break for me, because he probably handicapped late in the day better than I did. But I had him right from the get-go, so I was on the lead. I was loose. He wasn't going to catch me. So.
Talk a little bit about, you said the format up here isn't to your liking necessarily. Talk about a format that maybe you prefer. I'm with you, but I think all the formats have their weaknesses and strengths. But I'm with you, and my suggestion was a tournament like we had, because I got knocked out of the top 10 right at the last race. Right. And I said, maybe you should limit it to, you can only make a bet at an increment you've made earlier in the day. You can't all of a sudden swing for the fence at the end. If you've only done $100 exacta boxes early in the day, at the end of the day, you can't all of a sudden have $1,000 exacta box. And I'd like to see things tweaked like that, maybe. But what are your thoughts on formats that appeal to you?
I totally agree with what you're saying. I mean, I think the guys that got all the money got to be the guys that got to stay up there. I mean, you've been going all day and making money. Why? They're almost at a disadvantage when it comes to the last race, because their scores on the board, and everybody knows what you got, and they don't care about the money. The money's like mythical, so they're just firing at you.
And you have to protect a little too.
Yeah. So I think they have to come up with something where you either got to bet a percentage of your bankroll or be limited to maybe cut the field when going into the last race. Cut the field to a certain amount of guys.
Which is what happens at the NHC, the final table.
Well, a bunch of cuts would be interesting, because then you'd have guys firing throughout the day.
Right.
That's an interesting idea.
That is a stages, like a 3-stage concept. That's a good. I like that.
Because then the tracks might like it too, because their handle wouldn't go down; it would actually go up.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
The tracks don't like it because they want everybody to bet all that money in the last race. But I mean, if you get them to bet it earlier, that's the whole key to a tournament.
And I have to admit, I'm also, for a guy like me, last year I'm up and I'm like $1,000 ahead, and I'm thinking, well, I've got $1,000. I'm good. Right. I'm not going to push all in. I'm not a rich guy, so I'm going to get a disadvantage.
But that's a disadvantage, like Duke said. It's a disadvantage because you're doing good, and that's not right. That's not good.
Speaking of doing good, you said you kind of referenced that it's been a challenging meet so far. We're approaching the halfway point, guys. Give us some thoughts and some reaction to what we've seen. The track has been a tough read. We had some inside. We don't like to incite the bias term too much, but it did feel like there's been some pronounced inside days.
Yeah, the track's been weird in New York all year. So I think you could have predicted that maybe, but I wrote an article for Hannah before the meet started to play shippers. and the Maryland shippers and Delaware shippers and
You forgot Churchill shippers.
I had those. I had percentages. I had advice and said the key is going to be the shippers. And somebody saw me after like the first 3 days. He said, "You must be up $1 million." And the bad part was that none of them beat me. I had all of them, but chasing these big horizontal bets here at Saratoga can really get you. And every year I say I'm not going to do it, but it's just so, they dangle that carrot on you so much, So, but I think we got a pretty good line, going forward. Hopefully that everybody runs back, the way they run back nowadays. These trainers nowadays, but I think if they run back, we'll do good.
Well, it's got to be comforting in some fashion, not for you guys, but for the average bettor out there when they see guys like you who are the top handicappers in the country. Saratoga is just hard. It's hard to play. For the everyday player, the occasional player, it's even harder. It's tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. I mean, I'm getting buried up here, so I mean, it's been really tough. But going back to the track bias, it started out, I think, a little bit inside speed, and I think we're starting to go maybe a little the other way.
Yeah.
I think the track yesterday was very fair, or maybe even a little bit outside. So, I mean, that would be better. That inside speed track is tough to, especially up here, because you only get like 4 dirt races a day, and there's you get 6 turf races. So, I'd like to see the track a little bit more that way.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of confidence in when it gets inside either that it's going to stay. That's one thing I don't like in racing right now is that we got. Just because horses win going, to the lead, or even if we have an inside track, it's not the end of the world. People are, pronouncing doom when it was inside speed for, I mean, we got the Kentucky Derby winner. He lost on the lead on a day that was inside. We can have a little biases here and there, and I don't like when they tweak with it because during the day, how can you predict that? And also, that track's no better either because it's being messed with, and there's no. It's not necessarily fair. Even though it may not be inside speed, it's not fair. So, let it develop. And I think that's what's happened this week at least. I think it's starting to settle. Probably that stuff when they had started off slow was the problem, and they didn't know exactly how to get it right. We had a couple horses in the morning break down, and the trainers were complaining because the horses weren't hitting the work tab. So, I think we'll be good for the rest of the meet. I think it'll be pretty. It'll settle in and they won't mess with it as much.
I'm curious, you guys obviously two of the better handicappers in the country. I'm curious if you prefer one kind of race over another, dirt sprint as compared to long on the turf. Do you have races you feel are kind of in your wheelhouse, each of you?
I think probably dirt sprints are definitely my best races. Turf sprints are probably the worst.
And claiming as opposed to allowance, or
that doesn't really matter. As long as there's I think big field is more of an advantage to it as somebody like me.
Yeah.
If there's a big field and it's a dirt sprint, I think I got a little bit of an advantage.
Paul?
Well, I'm a dinosaur here. I like the dirt routes. I think they're the most. I'd like to see more of them. But like I said, like Duke says, I'd like to see with 12 horses.
Yeah.
I mean, if we had 12 horse dirt routes, I think people would say, well, they don't want to. They get away from it because it's not exciting or whatever. We had 12 horses in a dirt route starting right in front of the main track. They'd be exciting races. We just can't get. We can't get 12 horses.
They don't exist.
We've had the last several seasons. Certainly, the racing office has carted a lot of mile and an eighth.
Right.
Routes,
they tried.
Allowances and conditional allowances, even high-level claimers, the 15 on 3s and things, and they're getting 6-7 horses, and that seems to be about as much as it can fill. I mean, they're quality runners too. I mean, these are horses that are either coming down from stakes action or trying to work their way up, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean. We just can't get the entries. I mean, that's the problem.
The allowance side. You bring up a great element, and as we've told you in years past, you guys make your own figures. And in general figure parlance, do you find that the figures are more effective in certain conditions than others?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one of the reasons. I'm a figures guy. Duke's more of a trip guy, so that's probably why he likes sprints and I like routes more. And we're going to be on the dirt races are probably more formful anyway. But it's definitely the longer races I think are more formful. But further than that is that you can analyze the pace better, and that's one of the things I got to do going forward is maybe trying to break down these splits in these sprints, not going just by a quarter. Like in a 5.5 furlong race, or even in a mile turf race, you don't. Everything is in quarters, and it just looks like a sprint. But the races do quicken in spots, and in turf races, the internals are tougher to analyze. Where in the dirt races, a quarter is the right way to analyze it. In turf races, it's probably not. I got a little convoluted in that, but
no, I know.
And so I think if I could break down the turf races into 8s, I think we might have a better idea of the pace fractions and that sort of thing.
And on that topic, when it comes to the turf races in particular, and Duke, as you noted, there's been this proliferation of turf racing, and it came up even with our conversation with Jack Brothers about the bloodstock trade. The curious handling. I'm going to go right into Duke's wheelhouse, jockey bashing. When it comes to this grab and snatch action, I mean, in terms of understanding and really getting a read on any of those races, when you didn't necessarily get an honestly run race to begin with, because some of the pace horses didn't go. I mean, how can those figures help when you're looking at a race that wasn't necessarily run the way it should have been?
Yeah, the figures are tough in those turf races because the horses never get to the number that they're supposed to get to. I mean, Paul doesn't what they say project he doesn't project the figure. He just puts it what it is. So, I mean, a horse will be in a stake race and he maybe ran a 50 last time on the turf. You know what I mean? And on the buyer scale.
Flintshire up here last year, I gave a 50, I think.
Because the pace was so slow. Yeah. So, I mean, but, I mean, the jockeys are out in New York, they drive you crazy. I mean, I do trips, in New York every day, every race, and I just can't, some of the stuff you see is just mind-boggling. I mean, Rosario the other day went to the lead in like 50 seconds, and then he took him back. He went to the lead, he's on the lead easily, and then he gives up the lead. I mean, I can't figure that out. You get an easy lead, you give it up. I mean, it's mind-boggling what they do.
And it's something to do with what Seth said. I think that one of the reasons why we don't like the turf races as much is that, the best horse doesn't win. And if the best horse didn't win, and my father and I have this conversation all the time, we watch a turf race and I say, all right, who do we like next time? And anybody who says anything, well, this horse is definitively the best, I'll argue, right, you don't know that. You don't have any idea that was the best horse.
Yeah, one of the things that bothers me is a lot of those races, it's not on the page. You're going in blind. The horse that goes out to the lead, you look at the past performances and how did that happen? Right. And so bettors are just at a disadvantage in those kind of situations.
And not only that, you look up and the horse is bet somehow.
Which is worse.
I know that's even worse. And on that, we'll pick a spot or two today in a minute. But on that topic, board watching up here and in New York in general, the money is quote unquote smart. There's that ubiquitous they knew. Sometimes things are mystifying. How did Bricks and Mortar go off as the third choice on Friday in that Hall of Fame?
I think everybody fell in love with the
Big
two horse that had the trouble
on the trip.
People love trouble, so.
But then yesterday, that Entrashada that wins the.
Yeah, he didn't take any money.
Didn't take money. Goes off at 9-1.
I think I know on that Bricks and Mortar. I think that was a double thing. I think the Duke's right. That was the trip on the other horse, and the other horse had a big figures before it. I think that was the key in that race, is that Bricks and Mortar was in these races that Duke was talking about before.
He's in the slow pace race.
Where his figures really weren't
reflective of his talent.
Right. And, it was obvious. And he never run high either. Like on some of those other horses, like on Flintshire, all right, so they're not slow, but he's got 110s backwards or 105. Sure. So anybody who's analyzing him might say, well, he regressed, or, it didn't work out, or they had their own reasons, but there was something to go back to. On Bricks and Mortar, there wasn't. Every race that he'd won was like a similar slow pace.
Yeah, he'd only had like 80s, I believe.
Yeah, it really hadn't gotten anywhere yet.
He was in all slow paces.
We kind of smelled that out, that race was going to, and with the trouble on the other horse, it was like a perfect storm for that horse to be a better price.
And it's just so funny because Chad Brown overbet in so many circumstances, and then here's something right in his wheelhouse with a horse that is not been beaten and goes off as a third choice.
Well, it's a good handicapping lesson because I don't think that race is. I think that's something you can predict later, and that's not conventional handicapping,
right.
But it's like modern handicapping. And I'm always looking for things like that. Let's not, don't get stuck. We were talking about
very much.
All right, so we don't know who's going to win, but let's come up with a different way of looking at things. And I think that's a good lesson, that race, that bricks and mortar.
Do you guys get together? You're a trip guy. You're the numbers guy. Do you guys get together and kind of combine opinions and hopefully maybe that pulls something out of the pool there?
Yeah, we go over a lot of stuff. Maybe not every day, but I mean, through time we go over. He'll say, Duke, look at this figure, and I'll say, Paul, look at this trip, or, and we go over stuff.
When we're doing the best, we're in sync, though.
Yeah.
Like when we start arguing over, that's when, when it seems like it's coinciding, the trips and the horses. I think that's, that's when I feel like even if I'm losing, if the trips and the figures are coinciding together and it seems to make sense, I'm not worried because we're going to get there, But.
And just before we get to some ideas for today, I wanted to touch on, because it's become popular in this country, and Capital OTB is going to jump in, Hong Kong racing. And I know you guys kind of look at Hong Kong. Fill us in a little bit, because I think it's going to be something that will be more popular with our customers as well. Great. So fill us in on Hong Kong and how folks might approach it.
Well, the hardest thing about Hong Kong is it's turf sprints, mainly. It's between 6 furlongs and a mile. Like 7 furlongs is their favorite distance in the other races. And they go the wrong way, but they have a long stretch, so the horses ramble home pretty hard, and you just got to get used to and handicapping that, or the way they operate. They do things that are a little weird, like as far as keeping them in the right classes. They have a thing called the horse is on its mark, which is his rating. So sometimes they think a horse can't win at 70, but the trainer thinks he'll win at 64, his rating. So you got to pay attention to that, because that's his intention. When he's above 64, he's not going to be trying that hard. He may do something a little different, but when he's on 64, that's day go. That's go day. So, you got to be aware of that. And sometimes they'll ride horses cold, where if they're outside, you talk about how jockeys here. If they're outside, they'll either send or take back. There's no in between. That's like an Australian thing.
Well, they run like pairs, right? I mean, they don't.
So
they don't separate.
If the horses are on the outside, and that dictates the pace. The horses on the outside will either go or sit, and when they sit extreme, they'll go to last or they'll go to first, and that'll dictate the whole pace of the races there, and you got to get used to that a little bit too.
But you're a big player, so I'm assuming you're recommending folks jump in and take a look.
I really liked it when I first started doing it. The computer guys have really hit Hong Kong, and the value's not as quite as good as it used to be, but it's fun. And if you can stay up, it's a.
If you're a night owl,
you gotta be up all night.
That's right.
You're a guy that doesn't sleep, so you love it.
Last night I was watching Korean racing.
Korean racing. Well, we talked about Korean racing a couple of weeks ago.
That's on the dirt. We got to get that set then.
Well, Mr. Crow, Mr. Crow for the KRA is campaigning in the United States, and Paul joined me on the radio. We are having conversations with the HKJC, Pat Cummings, and you also tip people off to the fact that when they have their all dirt cards, that's a day to really swing into action. They do about a half a dozen of those a year. Yeah. They'll start again in September. Hong Kong racing from Sha Tin and Happy Valley. Let's take a look at a couple of spots today. Duke, what do you got?
I think today, let's see, I'm going to go skip to the middle part of the card. I like in the 5th race, horse Sister Sophia, changing trainers from a low percentage guy to a newer guy named Abreu. I think.
George Abreu.
Yeah, I think this horse is going to get plenty of pace at, and I think after that rain yesterday, I thought the 5.5 race that they ran yesterday, I thought outside was better on that turf. They seem to be sweeping around him, so I'm thinking right here, I think there's going to be plenty of pace with the one.
He thinks he's getting the morning line odds. He's not getting that.
Yeah, I'm not going to get 8-1. I'll take 4-1 though.
Wow. All right. I like it.
I tossed Rip Loves Maze into the mix when I was on the handicapping show earlier, just as a crazy play. I thought the Bullet workout at Finger Lakes may have tipped their hand a little bit. Again, I said on the show, I wouldn't put the college fund, but I thought...
You've got a lot going on in this race. You got Charlie Baker making a turf move with that Cozy Spring, who might be okay on the grass. Fire Key, I thought was live. You've got Linda Rice with the Freedbirds. Everything's Cricket Racing. They've got their big brunch on Tuesday, so don't be surprised.
And that's the horse that's laid off, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And Linda's other horse, the Star with Silver, a very good race.
Yeah.
What about you today?
Both stake races I think are interesting, which unfortunately the one race isn't that big field, but the Conquest with Windy City.
Yep.
The rail was dead at Prairie Meadows when they had the big races there, and he was pinned right on it in that race. And Iron Fist ran okay yesterday. The interesting thing is that the horse who ran second in the Eagle race with Mo Tom, he beat the horses that came out of the Prairie Meadow races at Mountaineer yesterday. However, I think the Mo Tom running at Indiana with Tom Amos, that's probably home field, and now he's up here. And then this is Brandon Walsh, who's done real well. He's beaten me out of
terrific.
He's beaten me out of about $500,000 probably in this meet so far. On both ends, the two horses that he's won with. So, but I'm going with him this time. I think Conquest Wind City is going to run real well this race.
I picked him as well. And what about the Troy?
And the Troy, I have a real wild trip.
Bold Thunder.
No, I have even wilder. I don't even know. I surprised myself when I started looking at this that I would like this horse. But I like Mongolian Saturday.
Okay. He seems to come alive again.
He's back, and his race at Parks is better than it looks. He got in all kinds of trouble. He doesn't like the inside. He likes the outside. I think the way this race is going to go, Duke and I were discussing, we don't know what... I wish I had an idea what Pure Sensation was going to do. But either way, I think Mongolian Saturday is probably all right, even if he goes, right?
He's probably going to get a good stalking trip is probably what he's going to get.
I'd rather that Pure Sensation rates, and he sits, and Mongolian Saturday just sits on Bold Thunder. That's what I'm hoping. But
the Troy is the 10th, 621 post, and really good group.
No, I don't have anything against Green Mask. I don't have anything against No Holding Goal. I think it's just those four can win it though. The 9 with 3, 4, 6, right?
Okay. Yeah, you got to use the 6. You got to use Holding Gold, even though Cassie's.
I agree.
Yeah, Cassie hasn't done well. I've been throwing him out a lot, but.
Well, and on the 2-year-olds, the inability to get out of the gate is increasingly. I mean, that horse yesterday, Arrival.
The 9 horse.
Arrival breaks, wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just might be red in this.
No doubt.
This is a big day for Cassie. I think he's got another chance too in that other race with the race with a lot of speed. That's a good race. That's probably the best race in the card as far as handicap.
Which
what is that? The never won 3, right?
They're not 2 or they're not 3? They're not 2.
2, never won 2.
Yeah.
Is that the race 7?
Yeah,
that's the race bar none I like too, but there's no way he's going off 8-1, is there?
No.
No.
That Ryerson horse is all right in there too. Luminary Flight, 15-1.
That's a good race to that's a good
play around.
I wish every race was like that. That's a betting race right there. That's a real good.
With you guys, every race is a betting race. Unbelievable.
All right, we'll wrap things up for this Sunday morning, but appreciate the visit. Duke Matisse, Paul Matisse. Look for the purple tablecloths if he wants to go play.
Back by the Big Red Spring, and I've got a couple of pushes for this week locally, and it occurs to me as locals and as a guy that comes back to visit from the West Coast, favorite dining choice when you come to town?
You know, I got a bunch, but I mean, probably Nove. I think
Nove's boy for Louis.
Yeah, I think Nove's definitely my top.
He'll be happy.
Yeah.
And you?
Well, you know, I got married at Longfellows, and I've been sending a couple people there this year, and they've loved it. So I haven't got there yet during the meet, but that's always good.
Nove and Longfellows, nice. I've got a couple of things for this week for people, including a Tuesday activity. And I can't remember if I pushed this last year, but if you got the family up and they're getting a little antsy and they want to do something different, it's going to be gorgeous on Tuesday, cool and beautiful. Go out to Bacon Hill, to Winnie's, to the blueberry fields, and pick blueberries. So much fun. An absolute riot.
I can hear little Andy giving you. It's a good thing that I'm on this. That a nice guy is on this.
Well, it's a Tuesday. Let go out and do something with the family. Bring the kids will love it. You can eat as many as you pick. A couple of other things out toward Washington County that I really want to push. If those of you that like to do some grilling, you want to go out to U-Shacks, out to Denny at U-Shacks in Shushan. Look it up. Y-U-S-H-A-K. U-Shacks. Unbelievable. Smokes his own meats. Does all kinds of fabulous sausage. And they don't get enough publicity. I mean, it's an institution.
I know.
I said U-Shacks. Get out to U-Shacks.
Food, fashion, horses.
They need an OTB there. We got to get one of those.
Well, we had the best one. The best OTB was in Greenwich when Frank Cristaldi was alive. Frank had the restaurant.
Oh, I love places like that.
That was called Time Out, and everybody local in terms of harness knows Frank Cristaldi. The late Frank Cristaldi. We used to have so much fun. He had the OTB in there, and he'd bring in pizzas. And
that's the best.
Free pour. We had so much fun. Also, one more in Greenwich. Sweet Beat, right on 29, right on Main Street. We live on Main Street. Tina and I and our friend Jen went last Saturday night. I had not been there in ages, and it's changed hands. A woman by the name of Joanna is doing farm-to-table stuff and pickling stuff. Pickled sunflower stalk. Who knew?
Yeah,
Who knew?
Yeah, really.
You gotta talk food with my father.
Yeah.
You sound just like him. You guys could do a whole cooking show.
We will. I'll have chicken on for that. But Sweet Beat out in Greenwich and Winnie's for blueberries and U-Shacks in Shushan.
All right. So again, it's the fashion, horses, food, soup to nuts.
We bring it all.
We appreciate your joining us this morning here every Sunday from 10 until 11 a.m. We'll wrap it up now. Enjoy the races this afternoon. Hopefully we gave you a little good advice so you cash some tickets. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.